Hello, my dear friends. This is your host, Anna Bruno, and I have a very special and important topic for us to discuss today by my friend Matthew Zain, who said, just give Armenia 1 week. Give Armenia a chance for 1 week. Armenia will do the rest. For those of you who are either of Armenian origin or the digital nomads or considering other locations for yourself and your family, I would love for you to consider Armenia. So today, I'm surrounded by some of my friends here, and what I would love to do is have some conversations with Sashka. We'll start with Sashka, and then we'll have Arthur and Vahagan also join us in their opinions. And the reason I want to start with Sashka is because she's an Armenian who wasn't born here. She grew up outside of Armenia, yet she somehow decided to relocate here, and she's been living here for a while. So, without further ado, dear Sashka, thank you so much for being here today. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would love to hear your experience. I know you're not the only one. There are many other Armenians who choose to, either Armenians or non-Armenians. We have people here that are non-Armenians who choose Armenia as their home base. When did you decide? What was that point of like, okay, I love it here and I'm going to give it a chance? Or walk us through that, please.
So I describe it as many dominoes falling in the right direction, because there was definitely no specific decision made to stay here long term. The original decision was to come for a summer of volunteering. Then I decided to make that a year of volunteering, which was great because I got to also spend some time in Artsakh and see my grandfather's village and get to know like the eastern side of Armenia. And so for me, another domino that fell is that randomly an LA Armenian found out that I was living in Vanadzor, hired me to open a call center. Then somehow I stumbled upon the idea of social entrepreneurship and we started the company. And so there just always seemed to be a reason to continue extending my gap year here in Armenia into 6 years. Yeah. And it was definitely, I understand the reason why a lot of diasporans don't stay in Vanadzor, for example, right? Because
why?
So the reason that I was able to connect was because I am a fluent Russian speaker. So this was a surprise for me when I came to Armenia. Believe it or not, I had no idea that Russian would be so easily used here. So in Vanadzor, I made a social circle very, very quickly. Also definitely had the advantage, and I do view it as an advantage, that I didn't grow up in an Armenian community, because lots of my Armenian friends from France or LA or wherever, they were often exposed to Armenian culture, like mostly through the church connections, right? That keep the Armenian people together in diaspora. And that's not the freest atmosphere. You know, like they speak Western Armenian, which is a familiar language for them. Many diasporans think in Western Armenian. They come to Hayazdan, is not very usable, you know what I mean? And so it was crazy to me that the other Armenian volunteers that I was with, who were in Armenian community language their whole lives, they were defaulting to me as the communicator with local Armenians in Russian, because for the Hayastansis, it's easy to communicate in Russian than in Western Armenian. So this, for me, was like one of the many reasons why it was much more easy for me to assimilate into the Vanadzor atmosphere. And also I just became very spoiled by the peace, by the support system, right? These are all things that, you know, I grew up being very praised for my individualism and being very successful on my own, and not very much of a encouragement to be team engaged. And in Vanadzor, I really learned how powerful community was, right? Because as soon as we started Creope, as well as the social entrepreneurship we were running, it was wild to understand how youth in Vanadzor are so willing to help, to contribute their own energies and their own creativity, which is out of control, the level of creativity that exists in the people of Vanadzor, because there's a craving for progress, there's a craving for something new. For this reason, I know that many of my friends in Vanadzor that are born and raised in Vanadzor, it's very painful for them to continue living in a place where they have to be so self-motivated, but you come to Yerevan, you go to other cities in Europe or the West, you see so much new work being built, you see so many new ideas being put out, and I think that visually being in an atmosphere where you have so many new things arising, it gives you more permission and more ability and more capability to do those new things yourself. And so there are a plethora of social and economic issues that we could go into that exist in Vanadzor. But again, this word potential, we may get tired of saying it, But the fact is that it's there to be activated.
And I want to shift my question to Vahan because he had the chance to go outside of Armenia, get educated, and chose to return because many don't. So tell us your experience of what is it like to, experience the world outside of Armenia, and what brought you back?
As both of you mentioned, I think there is no more emotional place for an Armenian than Hayastan, as you say. And understanding that and considering and having a plan to have family in Armenia, I always choose work or an initiative which allows you to be in Armenia, but work for and with the world. And I work for international organizations. I connect my company to an international network. So there is a chance, and I maybe with my experience prove that. But you can be in Armenia, but be connected with the world. And sometimes it's easier to approach those influencers which are in different countries, including Armenians or non-Armenians, because you are representing a country. And I'm bringing this example. If you are a football player and you want to play with Pelé, imagine the hardness and the impossibility to play with Pelé if you are a Brazilian. And just starting this from the zero, and then you approach some layers, and then you maybe will have a chance to play with him, right? If you are an Armenian football player, you are a member of Armenian team, and then the Armenian team is playing with Brazilian team, then you can find the Pelé. And for that, you need to be connected with all those developments which is currently happening in the world. Right, so who are the main gateway for us? Armenians, which can provide you like the source of the good thing happening and become a gateway, very short track to the core of whatever is happening connected with professions or your friends. So I think being an Armenian, it's very, very kind of, I would say, it allows you to have a lot of opportunities. And with easier way and with shorter path. So if you recognize that, you can build your mission based on that, as I did. So be in Armenia, but be connected with the world. So and work for and with the world. And this is the key thing you should, all of us should consider, because it's very, very, very easy to close yourself with some stereotypes, with all those daily routine problems, and just reject whatever is happening outside of your country. You just can ignore everything. There are a lot of people that are ignoring whatever is happening. They have their own mindset, their vision, the limited knowledge, and they do a lot of conclusions on that. I think we need to have more people like Sashka and Anna here together with us, because if we can make a such comparison, I think we as a nation, we are bit of not a soil, but another like cinnamon, right? So you need a cinnamon for a dish. A dish can be big, but the cinnamon bring additional value, additional
flavor,
color and flavor.
You asked me if I was willing to go to Vanuatu. I said sure, didn't know what that would be. So I went to Vanuatu and I thought I will spend like a fun summer in an exotic new country. And little did I know that 6 years would go by and Armenia would become the thing that I care about most. And specifically Vanuatu and Lori are the things that I care about most. Because, as we're constantly talking about, the potential that lies in Armenia and specifically outside of Yerevan is fascinatingly untapped. Like, it's outrageous, right? That, we can come with a Western perspective, with any external perspective, and see the holes that can be filled quite easily if you just have the right people, the right mindset that is applied to it. Because of course you have to be aware of what our current context is in Armenia. And there are a lot of cultural differences between diasporan Armenians and local Armenians as we work together. So for the last 3 years in Vanuatu, I've been running a social entrepreneurship called Creopia, which is a social business focused on connecting arts with social change. Community is thriving like crazy. You have so many startups that are opening happening there. Dilijan with its investments is just out of control, right? Like every day, every time I go to Dilijan, like there's new growth, new cafes, new openings, and as you know, like with the waves of new migrants from Russia and other places, Armenia is changing beautifully.
So is Sashka, and I recently had the chance. Matthew will be so happy. I had the chance to visit Ijevo for the first time, and I fell in love with it. It reminded me of a little ski resort town in the summertime, because in summer in Armenia, but it was so beautiful. It was just, it had this positive aura, and the people were so friendly. My story is a little bit different. I was actually born in Armenia, and I had, for various reasons, I had a chance to go and get educated in the United States. So I left Armenia at a very young age, and I got pretty much most of my education there, and I've been working and living there. My family's in the US. And so for almost 30 years, was completely disconnected from Armenia. And then a couple of years ago, after the war, I had a chance to come back, and I felt this sense of obligation that I wanted to contribute something to Armenia. And for me, it's like the warmth that you feel here, you cannot replace it. It's nowhere to be found. What are your thoughts about Armenia versus, the world, and what are your plans?
I want to give the following input to this group, because I had the opportunity to meet many Armenians that came, not Armenians as well, that came to Armenia, and many people that never had connection to both Armenian community, for example, while living in the US and Armenia, and I managed to persuade them and bring them here. So this is what I perceived. Generally, there are two types of mindset when it comes to Armenia. There are people who know what they want from Armenia. They come, they do hard things, they know why they came. The second type is, well, let's take a visit to our home country or whatever, let's have a nice vacation. They come here and something changes. Here's what changes. When they come to Armenia, they go to villages. They visit churches that have hundreds of years of history. And they connect with people. And after their hectic, awful lives in big cities, in mega cities, in big industrialized countries, they suddenly feel peace. They suddenly feel what is kindness, real kindness, without intention kindness. And that's generally the start of their spiritual awakening, because they sort of wake up from the dream and become conscious.